welcome to Escape Rock. So glad you're here. In this explainer, we are diving deep, and I mean deep, into the ultimate guide for using sound and digital audio to build some seriously unforgettable escape room puzzles.
So, let me ask you something. Are your escape rooms, well, a little too quiet? I mean, are you really using every single sense to pull your players into the world you've built? Because if you're just focused on what they can see, you might be missing out on your most powerful tool.
And that tool? It's sound. Honestly, it's probably the most underused, untapped resource in all of escape room design. So today, we're going to break down exactly how digital audio can take a room from good to absolutely mind-blowing. We'll cover it all, from easy DIY projects you can start this weekend to the super robust professional systems. All right, let's get our hands dirty. We're going to start with a fantastic do-it-yourself project that's, perfect for anyone just getting started. It's called the split message puzzle. The concept here is it's so simple but so effective. Think of it like an audio jigsaw puzzle. The idea is that players have to hunt down a few different audio players. And here's the trick. They have to play them all at the exact same time to get the full message. On its own, each one just plays a little piece of the puzzle, a fragment of sound. The source material had this perfect analogy for it. It said it's kind of the audio equivalent of a message written across several pieces of transparent acetate that you need to overlay, and that just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? Players are literally layering sounds on top of each other to reveal the secret. And the theming possibilities here, they're awesome. Imagine a wartime room where you're trying to piece together a jamed radio transmission. Or what about a sci-fi room with a corrupted captain's log from a doomed starship? You could even do a spy room where you've got recordings from a bunch of different listening devices. I mean, the sky's the limit, really. Okay, but here's the best part, the part you're probably waiting for. This build requires absolutely no coding. None. You just need 4 basic components. You've got your power, a simple 5-volt battery pack. Your input, a classic arcade button. The brains of the operation is this little GPD2846 MP3 module. And then, of course, a small speaker for the output. It's super, super accessible. So how do you make the audio files? Well, your go-to tool for this is going to be Audacity. If you haven't used it, it's this fantastic, free, open-source software that is just perfect for recording and editing all your audio. All right, preparing the audio is actually pretty straightforward. First, you record your full secret message. Then, you just duplicate that track a few times, one for each device you're going to use. On each of those copies, you start selectively replacing parts with silence, or maybe some static. Now listen up, because this is the most important part. You have to replace the audio, don't just cut sections out. If you cut stuff, it throws off the timing, and the whole puzzle just collapses. It won't work. Once you've done that, you just export each track as its own separate file, and you're good to go. Okay, you've mastered that one. Ready to level up a bit? Let's move on to our next DIY puzzle, the audio sequence. Now this one's a little more advanced. It does introduce some light coding and a bit more for the players to interact with. So the idea here is that players have to rearrange sounds, like syllables, to form a secret word or phrase. You'll have a bunch of buttons, and each one plays a short sound clip. The players have to figure out the right sequence, the right order to press them in to solve the puzzle, and bam, trigger and unlock. The hardware for this one is a little more involved, but totally manageable. You'll need an Arduino to act as the brains. For the inputs, you can use something cool like touch sensors, and you'll want to use a multiplexer to expand your inputs. That way you don't use up all the pins on your Arduino. To actually play the sound files, a DF Player Mini is perfect. And then for the grand finale, the output, you can use a relay and a maglock to pop open a door or a treasure chest. All right, for our third DIY concept, we're thinking bigger. We're going from puzzles that are, contained in a little box to something that can fill the entire room. Let's talk about broadcasting secret transmissions. You hear that? Ooh, ooh. That's SOS in Morse code. And that little bit of sound sets the stage for a puzzle that uses actual, real-world radio technology for a seriously immersive effect. This one's cool. The idea is just brilliant. Players solve some other puzzle in the room, and the reward is a numeric code. Let's say they get 981. Then they find an old radio tucked away somewhere. They have to figure out to tune it to that frequency, 90.1 FM, and when they do, boom, a secret broadcast comes through the speaker with their next clue. How cool is that? And you know what's wild? The hardware for this is surprisingly simple. You just need any old functioning FM radio, a cheap in-car FM transmitter, the kind you use to play your phone through your car stereo, and maybe an Arduino if you want to get fancy and generate a dynamic signal like Morse code. And because these little transmitters are so low power, their range is only like 10 to 15 meters, they're actually license-free in most parts of the world. Okay, so all these DIY projects are amazing. They're fun, they get the creative juices flowing, and you learn a ton. But if you're running a commercial escape room, a business, you're facing a whole different set of challenges. And that's where we need to talk about professional systems. There's this quote that just perfectly sums up the problem with using DIY for a business. It's about the risk of turning creative dreams into maintenance nightmares. And that's so true. When you have paying customers and rooms booked back to back, reliability isn't just a nice to have, it's everything. So let's just lay it out, DIY versus pro. With DIY or consumer-grade stuff, you're often looking at unreliability, zero documentation, no support when things go wrong, and just a ton of maintenance. Professional systems, on the other hand, they're stress-tested for thousands of cycles. They come with huge, comprehensive wikis. You get direct support from engineers, and you get game-changing features like one-touch resets. And if you need a number to really drive this home, check this out. Data shows that room owners who use professional systems report a whopping 70% fewer technical failures than those using consumer-grade alternatives. 70%! That is a massive, massive difference when we're talking about keeping your rooms running and your customers happy. The other huge win for pro systems is how they simplify the building process. It's all modular, it's plug and play. You just pick a sensor from this huge library of documented options, you plug it into an intelligent controller, and then that controller triggers whatever you want. Locks, lights, sounds, you name it. There's no coding, no soldering. You just get to focus on the fun part, creating. Which, of course, brings us to the big question. Should you build or should you buy? So let's break it down and help you make the right call for your room. Okay, here's the final breakdown. With the DIY approach, the pros are pretty clear. It's low cost, it's super customizable, and honestly, it's a ton of fun to learn. The cons? Well, it can be unreliable, it's definitely time-consuming, and you're on your own if something breaks. Now, for the professional route, it's extremely reliable, it's plug and play, you get expert support, and maintenance is a breeze. The only real downside is that higher initial investment. So it really comes down to what you value more, saving money up front or having that long-term stability and peace of mind. So, there you have it. We've gone all the way from simple, no-code audio jigsaws to these incredibly robust professional ecosystems. Whether you decide to build it yourself or buy a ready-made system, the power of sound is officially in your hands. So the only real question left is, what kind of unforgettable, immersive, sound-driven experience are you going to build?